Hey, we're back. We're going to finish up our watercolor techniques. So we were in the middle of working in wet and wet. Wet and wet is a great technique for when you're going to be painting clouds or even a blue sky or stormy sky or a galaxy. I love using it for that. So the paint, obviously the paper's really wet. I like to kind of move that water around and let it kind of drip around. That's something fun, in my opinion. But now I'm going to keep going with this. So I'm going to work in this section now. Get that paper wet. Come back with my round brush and just dot the paint in there. And the paper I'm working on here isn't watercolor paper. I'm just in my sketchbook. So when you're working on watercolor paper, it may have a little bit more movement than this one is having. And I can even explore around with adding different colors in there to get kind of a mottled effect. Okay, and then keep going, get your whole section. Each section should be filled. There should not be any empty spaces on your paper, except where the tape is. We're going to peel that off, and it's going to give us some nice white, crisp lines when this is all dry. You can't do that till it's dry, though. So you'll probably do that tomorrow or the next time you're here. Okay. And again, this is fun to just play around with adding. It kind of gives it sort of a tie-dye look. And when you go to mix colors, refer back to our color mixing chart we made. We made a color mixing chart so we can know what colors we think mix well together. For the last one, we're going to do a resist. So for resist, you're going to use either something waxy or oily, like a crayon or an oil pastel. And I really like to do white. It doesn't show up now, but it will. So it has to be something waxy or oily. And hopefully you at one point have seen trying to mix like oil and water. Doesn't happen. The oil sits right on top of the water, right? What do you think is going to happen when we try to paint watercolor on top of oil pastels? Are they going to mix? What do you think? While I'm drawing this, I have another question. Back to wash. Is wash a thin coat of paint or a thick coat of paint? If you said thin, it's correct. Okay, so I've got my resist on there. I'm going to add a couple little lines, and I'm going to bring in a contrasting color. I like to have something that's bright and a little unexpected. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come in with my flat brush, and I'm going to paint a wash right over top of this. And then I'm going to have you answer that question. You're going to be able to answer that question. What's it going to do? Right, it doesn't mix. So if you said no, it's not going to mix, you were correct. It's not going to mix. The paint just kind of, you can almost feel your brush. You can feel your brush when you're going over the oil pastel. Your brush is like, hey, I can't go there. It just goes right to the water areas, but it does not end up where the oil pastel was. Okay. And we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to do the next level.